in our ways of demanding that there be change. Let's see, also there's a huge portion of decolonization here that needs to happen too. We need to invest in Indigenous models of justice and empower to address all harms committed to Indigenous peoples. And I see this all the time working for the First Peoples Justice Center, is that we see people come in with various tickets or various, paperwork about criminal infractions that have existed. And what the police do is that they escalate these situations further. So rather than, a ticket for whatever might be going on, it's escalated to assault against a police officer. It's extended to something much further, and people have to then be forced into these very intense court processes that are already uncomfortable for Indigenous peoples, right? Because, the foundation of all police institutions was to eradicate Indigenous peoples and take away land from Indigenous communities. This is a clear act of genocide, and it continues to exist today. So when we're talking about, Indigenous peoples in relation to territory, this isn't a conversation of the past, right? We're talking about how Indigenous communities continue to be affected by police there. Also, the coalition, we talk a lot about reinvestment too. So we're talking about investing into programs created and run by communities to prevent harm, including harms related to police violence, mental illness, and drug use. We're supporting for restorative and transformative justice models that, rather than creating punitive measures onto community members, we're looking at ways of healing, we're looking at ways of well-being, and we're looking at ways of empowerment to resolve these conflicts that occur in community. We understand that communities as well, are not monolithic beings. There's a lot of, ebb and flow and movement in different communities. So we need models of restorative and transformative justice that also specifically support the needs of LGBTQ+ community members, those with disabilities, those working in sex work, those who consume alcohol and use drugs. We're looking for a very harm reduction model so that we can better support community members rather than defunding the police. It is taking away funding and putting from the SPVM and putting into supportive services. We're no joke. We are an abolition framework, and we do want to move towards this because prisons are fucking no joke. People get locked away from their family, and this is in very intense harm. And we support community members, especially Indigenous community members, coming out of the pen, coming out of different jail processes, and it just further traumatizes community members rather than working with the community and supporting their goals and needs. We want to create and fund also unarmed, service teams that support community members through mental health and drug crises, traffic violation, gender-based violences, conflict that happens with youth too. There's no fucking way that police should be coming into to solve or to help with mental health crises. Fuck no, that's no place that, police need to be involved with, because as we know, they further perpetuate violence into the situation and to make this stronger in that sense, which is, it's not okay that they're able to intervene in mental health crises. We want to invest in programs and services, including youth programs, recreation programs, social housing. Housing is such a friggin' huge conversation that needs to be had in Jojage. There is not enough social housing programs, both permanent and transitionary, for community members with alcohol and drug management programming. It's just crazy that it takes so much, to support somebody going through a process to attain stable housing. And then when we talk about decriminalization, we are calling for the decriminalization of all drugs, sex work, HIV status, eliminate the SPVM drug squad, and morality squad. We are also wanting to eliminate all SPVM surveillance programming, as those working in the field of sex work and those who are using drugs, they continue to be harmed by these surveillance models. We also want to eliminate social control bylaws related to quote-unquote incivilities there, because again, we see a lot of people coming in with various tickets, and then those turn into criminal infractions, which, in the city of Montreal end up to facing jail time there. We also want to permanently withdraw police from schools, from sports programs, seize police patrols in public parks, community events, and other spaces in which youth congregate. That's a huge problem, especially with our youth, is that in schools that they see that police are being represented in those spaces, able to talk to them, to lecture in that context. And then generationally, when you see police officers, intervene in this way when you're young, you don't, it gets to the point where we stop to realize or to envision a reality where police don't exist. And also, we want to end the criminalization and surveillance of migration by eliminating all collaboration between the police and the Canada Border Service Agency, and any forms of involvement with SPVM in immigration matters. And this is a huge conversation for BIPOC community members as well. That is also rooted, in Indigenous, in forms of oppression that started to control Indigenous mobility, and now it has gotten further where especially BIPOC community members are really alienated and attacked by police through immigration and migration matters. So today, we're here to have a conversation, to call for the defunding of the SPVM, because generationally, I'm sick and tired of it. I come from a long line of very strong Indigenous peoples that have had to face the brunt of police violence in different forms, and I don't want to see that 7 generations down the line, right, where my kids and my kids' kids have to face the violence of police influence. So I commend you all for showing up today and for existing in this space, because we need to continue to call out for change. That police continue to harm community members and to continue to perpetuate genocidal violence onto especially BIPOC community members here in Tiohtià:ke. What else did I want to say? I think I'll end it there for today. So just continue to support defunding the police actions, because they're so needed in the community here in Tiohtià:ke. So Yangoa means thank you all very much for listening to me babble on about defunding. And I wish you all a safe demonstration here. And thank you for those who organized it at COPB. It's a great group of people here doing this. So yeah, I'm done. Okay.
Il ne faut pas oublier, gardez vos masques, toujours 2 mètres. Good luck. Pourquoi on marche? Nous prenons la rue aujourd'hui pour la manifestation de la 25e journée annuelle contre la brutalité policière, organisée par le COBP, le collectif opposé à la brutalité policière. Nous marchons aujourd'hui dans Parc Extension, un quartier ouvrier, pauvre et à majorité migrante, parce que ce quartier est menacé par la gentrification. Le nouveau quartier technologique à la mode du Milex est arrivé d'un parc campus de l'Université de Montréal, sont responsables pour la gentrification de Parc X et de ce qui vient avec. Les évictions de nombreux locataires qui ne pourront pas se permettre de se reloger dans le quartier. L'explosion des prix et surtout les boutiques UP et une augmentation sur surveillance policière pour protéger les nouveaux résidents plus riches et pour mettre de l'ordre dans le bourgeois et colonialiste dans le quartier. Surtout pour effacer les anciens résidents. Comme quartier pauvre et avec une large population racisée, l'harcèlement policier fait partie de la vie quotidienne de Parc Extension. Même si cela fait des années que la police promet de régler le problème du profilage racial à Montréal, rien de concret n'a été fait et la répression continue. Les abus policiers graves sont toujours monnaie courante. Dans Park X, ce qui est arrivé à Mamadi Camara récemment est un bon exemple de ce qu'on parle. L'abolition de la police. Le thème de la manifestation de cette année est l'abolition de la police. Depuis sa création, il y a quelques centaines d'années, la police abuse son pouvoir et maltraite la population. Il y a eu tellement de personnes battues, abusées, tuées par la police. Des gens emprisonnés, des familles brisées, ici et partout au monde. Quand les comportements des policiers sont dénoncés par la population, on nous promet toujours des réformes, mais rien ne change. Les personnes autochtones continuent d'être tuées par les policiers. Les personnes avec des problèmes de santé mentale sont battues ou tuées. Les personnes racisées se font contrôler quand elles conduisent une voiture. Les travailleurs du sexe sont emprisonnés et la liste est longue. La police fait beaucoup trop de tort à la population pour que nous continuions à t'enlever de vivre dans la peur, sous son emprise. Abolissons-la. And if you didn't understand, I'll repeat in British. Keep a mask on and 2 meters of distance. Why we march? We take the streets today for the 25th annual demonstration against police brutality organized by the COBP, the collectif opposé à la brutalité policière. We march today in Park Extension, a majority migrant and working class neighborhood, because there's the ever-increasing threat of gentrification. The new quartier technologique in the style of so-called Mile X and the arrival of a new campus of the University of Montreal are largely responsible for the gentrification and what comes from that. The eviction of numerous tenants who will now not be able to find affordable housing in their old neighborhood. The high price of yuppie boutiques that few working class people can access. And, of course, the large increase in police presence in order to protect the new, richer residents. Keep the bourgeois colonial order in their new neighborhood and to help finalize the erasure of the old neighborhood and residents. As a working class neighborhood with a large racialized community, police harassment is a part of daily life in Park Extension. Even though the SPVM claims to have regulated the problem of racial profiling in Montreal, nothing concrete has actually been done and repression continues. Police abuses are a permanent fixture in Park Extension. In Park X, what happened to Mamadi Camara recently is the perfect example of what we mean for what we need. Abolish the police. This year's theme is that of police abolition. Since its creation just over 100 years ago, the police have been abusing their power and mistreating working class and colonized people, here and worldwide. There have been many beatings and many murders. People are imprisoned, families are broken. When police atrocities are denounced by the public, we are always promised reforms, but nothing ever changes. Black and indigenous people are killed by police. People with mental health problems are beaten or killed. Racialized people are confronted driving their vehicles. Sex workers are sent to prison. Working class people are put down. The list is on and on and on, and it's a very long list. The police attacks threaten the population daily, so much so that we can no longer tolerate living in fear in its threatening showers. Abolish them. À qui la rue? 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 Let's go!
Good luck, y'all.